What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV here, back again with another Tottenham update. I hope you're all having a very nice Sunday. But I am joined by the brilliant Brian Daigle to talk about all the latest transfer news surrounding Tottenham Hotspur. Hope you're doing well, Brian. You having a nice Sunday?
I'm having a lovely Sunday, mate. It snowed here last night. It looks beautiful outside. Been watching Disney movies with the wife. It's what Sundays are made for.
Well, you might have thought you were watching a Disney movie yesterday when you heard about the Timo Werner news, and let's get straight into that. And obviously, Timo Werner, we got the Here We Go yesterday, so nothing groundbreaking when it comes to this deal, but just a few reports coming surrounding the deal coming out over the last few hours. Fabrizio Romano confirming Tottenham have already booked their medical test for Werner as they await contracts to be signed. Then loan deal will be completed. Werner will start training as a new Spurs player next week. Romano did confirm on his YouTube channel that Werner believes that Postecoglou's system and football ideas are perfect for him. And Simon Jones says that from the Daily Mail, says Postecoglou's views on Werner's pace and selfless work ethic as ideal qualities to suit his tactics and his squad. Now, a lot of people will look at this deal and will say Tottenham are only going for him because he's available now. He's cheap. It's a cheap deal. It's a low risk deal. Do you think this deal has come about because he's the best of the players available, or do you reckon we have generally scouted him, and even though it's a player that's a cheap deal, he is a player we've looked at and thought he could really fit what we're trying to do?
So obviously, when we hear it's a loan deal or whatever, the comments about Levy are always going to come out, and as we know, I'll be one of the first people to call it out.
Just to touch on that before you continue, we have been burnt a bit. You know, last year we had the Danjuma deal that didn't really work out. But anyway, crack on.
Yeah, but again, that was done late in the window, and I think with the Danjuma one, I think that was more of a insurance policy in case Porro fell through. I didn't see where he came in and where he added it. If Porro had fallen through, that would have been a window wasted with just going for Porro and no one coming in. I can see why people start straight away. And I was one of them. I'll be honest, when I first heard Werner, I was like, oh, here we go. Typical. But then you've got to take a step back and look at this deal. Son's gone. The front, we've said the front three have looked tired, or they look out of sync. We've had to put people in different positions because of injuries or what have you. Timo Werner fills that void. Timo Werner, the bit that I'm really latching onto more as well is we keep hearing the work rate and doing the work that Ange Postecoglou wants. We've seen how many hamstring injuries we've been picking up. We've seen how fast-paced and frenetic we play when we're on the front foot. You need a guy that's going to work his socks off and force that press like we did in Peak Poch as well. And it needs to be that person that will do some of the donkey work. Does Werner do it? By the sounds of it. And I honestly think this is a good deal. And as I said to you, Simeon, I think if we'd signed the Dragosin deal or a centre-back first, and then this had come later in the window like a Danjuma or later, I think the reaction would have been completely different. I actually think this is a very, very low-risk deal financially. If it does pay off, the buyout or the option to buy clause is a reasonably cheap one. And it could be a masterstroke. It could. Don't get me wrong. This deal is either a masterstroke or a flop. I don't think there's a middle ground with this one. But the more and more I think about it, the more and more I think it may be a masterstroke.
Yeah, and I think it is very positive. I was speaking to a Leipzig fan. The video will be out later, and he's just said, you know, this is Werner. His biggest problem at the moment is not his quality, or he's completely become a bad player. He's just severely lacking confidence, and I was theorizing with him, maybe being back at Leipzig after flopping at Chelsea, as much as he might feel like coming home would be a good thing to do, like a good homecoming or something. Maybe as a part of him feels like, because he's back at Leipzig, it's like a constant reminder almost that he failed his big move. And maybe he just needs a complete reset. He just needs to go somewhere where he feels appreciated, he fits the system, his attributes are going to be made the most out of. And maybe Tottenham's that place. Look, 100% it might not be. And 100% we might be turning around at the end of the season thinking, what a waste of time. Why do we even bother? But I think it's probably better. I would rather do this, and then in the summer, if it's not worked, then you can revisit that market with a lot more options.
Yep.
And maybe, and you can go, even if you're going to go spend big money, you go spend big money doing it the right way, in a weird way, because in January, if you want a striker, a really good striker, especially one that's going to improve or compete with our strikers, you're going to have to spend big money.
Well,
and that market, sorry, just quickly, that market is very limited, and I feel like you're going to have to overspend in a way, and so it makes more sense just to do a smarter deal now in January, and then reassess things in the summer.
Yeah, I mean, the way I'm looking at it as well is, could this be, like you said, I'll tackle this one first, is where you ended. Could it be this is giving McKenzie and Lange the time to completely assess and get the striker they want in the summer right? Could it be an Ivan Toney? Could it be an Evan Ferguson? Could it be a Jimenez that you're not going to get out of their clubs necessarily unless you pay huge money to get them out in January, which you would have to do. And we need to spend that money on defenders. I will stand by that. This deal to me is nothing if we don't get a defender in. If Dragusin isn't in for United, it brings more pressure than what there should be. But the other thing you look at, when he flopped at Chelsea, he was playing under a Frank Lampard style of football, followed by a Thomas Tuchel style of football. If Werner was coming to a Antonio Conte football, a Nuno football, a Jose football, then I think this deal is pointless. But his main success was playing free-flowing attacking football under Nagelsmann.
Mm-hmm.
And you're coming to Tottenham Hotspur, who play free-flowing football under Ange Postecoglou. We say that there's certain players that weren't Conte players, that weren't this player. This player is a Postecoglou type player. And we all loved how Harry Redknapp could put his arm around someone, a Poch could, a Martin Jol could. Well, if Ange can do it with this guy and get him firing like he was in his first in RB Leipzig, then it could be steal of the blooming window.
I reckon Ange will see this as a bit of a challenge as well. I reckon because that's what Ange said, isn't it? At the beginning of the season, he said the thing that makes his job so attractive is that sense of challenge. Doing something that no one else has done in terms of getting Tottenham to win a trophy and all these kind of things. But I think that this is something that Ange will relish. He'll relish this opportunity of having a player who we all know on his day can be an excellent player and was once one of the best, most sought after strikers in Europe at one point, and he's been off form for a few years. But I think Ange will look at that and think, I reckon I could be the guy to get him back on form, and I'm going to back my managerial skills here. And I reckon he's really going to relish that challenge.
Well, also, so we look at it another way, is we went into this season, we lost Perisic, we lost Solomon, we lost Richarlison on the left when he had his injuries and was going through his, when he took a break for a couple of weeks, when he made that statement about his own mental health. And we are crying out for people on the left, crying out for them. Yes, Decky can go there. Yes, Brennan Johnson can go there, but they're predominantly right or with Decky more central maybe. Lo Celso was out, whereas now you got Richarlison, you got Son, you got Werner, you got Solomon coming back, and three of those can also play in the centre. So we got our number 9 and a left winger, and there's loads of combinations there. It's not just, we're down to bare bones. We've stocked up. And we've got Son that can play in the centre. Richarlison can play in the centre. Werner can play in the centre. Scarlett, obviously, Valise has been out, but there's another one. But I don't see Scarlett getting a lot of game time, especially with Werner. But then on the left now, before Solomon gets back, you got Son, you got Werner, where the options are there as well. So yes, we need a defender. Yes, I want a defender. Yes, the defender's the priority. But I can't see why there's a lot of negativity about this deal. I just can't see it.
Well, talking about a defender, let's move on to Radu Dragusin, the daily Dragathon, as we like to call it now on the We Are Tottenham TV show. So Simon Jones of the Daily Mail says that Tottenham remain on course to achieve their goal of getting a centre-back in the door as positive talks over a deal for Dragusin are continuing. And Romano said there has been talk of Napoli in recent days for Dragusin, but it's always been Tottenham. They've always been in control, and they are working to get this deal done in the next day. There's also been a report in Italy from Calcio Mercato that Dragusin is stalling with Napoli right now as he awaits for Tottenham to agree the deal with Genoa. So look, still very positive on Dragusin. There were obviously a few worries that Napoli could hijack the deal. It looks as though at the moment everyone's still very confident though that Tottenham will get this over the line. And if we can get it done this week, and he gets a few days training with his teammates and can be ready to step in, especially now with Davis injured, it would be even more imperative for him to be ready to step in for the Man United game. That'd be super positive, wouldn't it? So sounds like this one is still. And look, I know we're Tottenham fans, so progressing nicely we could be talking 3 weeks saying it's still progressing, but it does seem that hopefully soon it'll be getting over the line.
Yeah, I mean, I would have thought Tottenham Hotspur could have the skill and the resources to multitask and operate on 2 deals at a time. But for whatever reason, Werner's been announced. And then obviously, I think Romano, I saw a little video of him yesterday saying like now Tottenham's full attention is getting this deal done. And this is the deal we all want. This is the deal. It looks like we can safely say that Dragusin is the #1 target. Dragusin is far ahead of Todibo or whatever names are in the hat now. And we're moving forward. It's now just get this deal done. And from what I saw today, I think we've upped our bid to 26.8 million euros or something along that, or pounds. I think it's euros. So it's getting there. And then I didn't know that about him stalling Napoli. Well, I do know that obviously he wants Tottenham. And now hopefully this deal in the next few days, we'll get another 3-word statement from Fabrizio. And that'll be the defender in. But I think once this defender comes in, I think all this negativity will die down because it's like, right, he's in, he's here. But it looks like it is progressing now, doesn't it? At a fast pace. Yeah,
definitely. And I think another one who I really think that I think there are other defenders potentially who are more ready to be this ready-made defender now to step in and be a proper starter. I think this guy obviously can really contribute straight away, and I think he's going to be a lot better than our current options for centre-back after Romero and Van der Ven. But I do think we've seen this more as an opportunity to sign a player while he's a bit undervalued because he's got really high potential and he's got all the attributes and he's young and maybe more willing to play a bit of a squad role right now rather than sign maybe a Todibo or a Tapsoba or something like that, go for big money and do it that way, which, look, you can have your opinions on. I'm not terribly mad at as long as we're getting a high quality, backup centre-back and someone who Ange really rates and can use. That's all I can ask for. As long as we're not using shoehorning fullbacks into centre-back and we've got a proper centre-back option, then I'm going to be happy with it. But there are going to be fans out there saying, oh, he's only spending 26 or whatever. Why does he go and spend 50 and get to Debo and get the best of the best? And look, that if you were a Man City or something, maybe you would. But unfortunately, that's just not where we are.
Take it from a man that learned with David Raya and Vicario last summer. Take it from a man that knows and made a huge error and gladly owns that error. Dragusin, as soon as I heard that Paratici had worked with him, seen him and recommends him, for me, that guy has got one hell of a lot of credit in the bank with his hit rate. And if he's identified him, he's pursued him. And obviously there's that. But also, you've got to remember helping him settle into England, which is no mean feat for people coming from. They don't all just settle in straight away. Having Benton, Core and Kulusevski there is going to be a big pull for him. It's going to be a big aid for him when he first moves into the country. So this deal will get done. And like you said, I'm happy with signing a 21-year-old that looks like he's got all the markers of a great defender, and Paratici has rubber stamped it, than falling for the David Raya Vicario era. If they're good enough, you find them. That's where Tottenham need to improve, and it looks like we are doing that with Paratici.
Yeah, shouldn't judge too early. I think that's a fair point. Next story comes from a journalist out in France called Gonzalo Tortosa, who says Tottenham want Loic Bade in this January window. The offer will be transferred to Sevilla in the coming days. He has a contract until 2027 and a clause of 55 million euro. Now, that's an interesting one because they're actually not the only ones reporting it. Now, El Chigrito, who are a Spanish publication, sports media publication out in Spain, they are now also reporting that there is interest from Tottenham in Loic Bade this January, and maybe they could be submitting offers. So maybe, I don't know if we're putting out these stories to make Genoa scare a bit and lower their price, or is there genuine interest? Is Dragston a smokescreen for Loic Bade? Now, Loic Bade is a centre-back for Sevilla. He was actually in Nottingham Forest about a couple of years ago, and he completely flopped there, didn't play any games, moved to Sevilla, and never looked back. He was a big part of them winning the Europa League. I think he even scored a goal in against Man United in one of the ties in the lead up to winning the Europa League or the champion, or in a Champions League tie. And he's had a really good time of it at Sevilla, but it's going to take a lot more money to get. I mean, he's 23 years of age, a French player. It's going to be a lot more expensive than Dragusin. It's going to be probably of a similar price to someone like a Todibo. So I don't know. It just doesn't. I mean, I don't see Tottenham really pushing the boat out. But look, if Dragusin deal isn't right, and maybe we do go to him, if they're prepared to pay the money, I'm going to be happy with it. But something just tells me it's probably not going to happen.
You know what I think with this, what I think with this is, I think this is a smokescreen, but I don't think it's for Dragusin. I think there's a second centre back we might be looking at. Could it be a Tosin? Could it be another player of that ilk, where a player's running down on his contract and Spurs are now putting the feelers out to make them think, right, Dragusin's in. I think it is a smokescreen, but I don't think it's anything to do with Dragusin. I literally think there may be a second defender that they're looking at, and they want to scare the other team that they're trying to get him from. I don't know who that is. It could be Tosin. I hope it's Tosin. I'm a big fan of his. We'll have to wait and see.
That would be interesting if we're looking at a second centre back. Obviously, yeah, we only have two at the moment. If we get one, we'll have three. With Dyer probably being out the door. So it depends how we see Davis. Do we see him now as a centre back, or is he still our backup left back? Is he still a full back by trade, or does Ange think, look, this guy's now a centre back and that's his position?
I'll add to that. I only mean it with a defender like Tosin, whose contract is running down. I don't mean a smokescreen for a Todibo or anything like that. I mean a player with like 6 months left on their contract.
Interesting. Yeah, I do wonder if we are going to go for two centre backs this window. I mean, at this rate, I would just take one if offered to me, because there's no guarantees getting any. But if we do look for two, that'd be brilliant, and it just gives us a lot more flexibility in choosing our centre backs, and definitely stands us in good stead. Getting ready for next season with hopefully European football on the table. The next story is about, well, it's somewhat linked to Eric Dyer, but I'll explain why. Fabrizio Romano reports that Bayern Munich have now opened talks to sign Nordi Mukiele from Paris Saint-Germain, who is one of the names on the centre-back list. Talks are ongoing for a loan deal with a buy option of about 25 million euros, L'Equipe have reported. PSG are still discussing internally, while Tuchel has approved Mukiele. Now, that's important because there are suggestions that if Bayern Munich move ahead with this Mukiele deal, that means they will be pulling out the Eric Dyer deal, which would be a massive shame for us and for him. It's interesting though. Manuel Neuer was quoted yesterday talking about Eric Dyer. He was asked about him. What does he think of the move? And he said he likes the player, he likes the name, and sounds as though Bayern Munich has discussed him, and he'll be delighted to play with him. So they're not shy about talking about him, it seems. But what do you reckon? Do you reckon this Mukiele deal? Do you reckon they're moving ahead with it?
Joe, it's hard to tell, isn't it? If they've got the players openly talking about Eric Dyer, you'd think that there really is something to this. Harry Kane really is doing God's work, isn't he? He really is bigging up Eric Dyer, and obviously he's being listened to. I've said it again. I loved him as the centre midfielder, but his time is done at Tottenham. I'm sure, listen, we know if he's not going now, he's going in the summer. Whether buying 4 million is a good price, I will say, not just because we want him off the books. Getting a 29-year-old England international or England internationally experienced defender at 4 million is not a bad deal, regardless of what you think of Eric Dyer. So surely it works all round.
I wonder how the Bayern Munich higher ups are thinking about dealing with Daniel Levy for a round 2 after what happened in the summer with all the toing and throwing. But yeah, look, if they do end up giving us a fee for Eric Dyer, that would just be great for everyone, wouldn't it? So
Yeah.
we have to wait and see. But at the moment, it looks like they might be pushing the button on this Mukiele deal, and that would scupper any Dyer deal. And I'm sure he'll be gutted if that was to happen. The last story we're talking about is Jed Spence. Romano reporting on the current situation with Jed Spence, and he said that Tottenham are planning to loan Jed Spence out again after a recall clause activated by Leeds. Spence expected to leave in the next days. Now, the problem with Spence is he's had 2 loan deals since coming to Tottenham. Both, I mean, Ren was a bit mixed, wasn't all bad, but didn't end great. And then the Leeds one, I guess it's fair to say, has been a bit of a disaster considering he hasn't even lasted the season and he's not been injured. It's not injury isn't the reason he's been recalled. So do you think teams are going to think twice before going for him? Do you still think championship teams are going to be after him?
I think a championship team could do, but I think again he might need another spell in Europe. He might need another spell in Europe where it may be a little bit more relaxed, or it may benefit him and he may learn and grow and mature. It's definitely not going to be a Premier League team. I can't see a Premier League team coming in for him at all. It's just a shame. It's another guy. We obviously never know what's going on behind closed doors. We hear about the attitude issues and whatever, but as we learned with Dele Alli, never judge a book by its cover with that. But there's more and more people speaking about it. I hope he gets the loan deal. He's definitely. I just can't see him staying at the club, can you? I don't think we get a permanent transfer, even though it looks like his days are numbered. I hope he gets the loan, but I hope for him it is abroad.
Yeah, I think maybe it'll be a fresher start. He did seem to get better performances out at Rennes, but again, he did lose his place, halfway through that loan deal, and I think he got an injury and didn't end too well. But all these question marks about his attitude and things like that. I mean, it's not going to stand him in good stead when looking for another team to loan him at, and especially the fact that he's been at a championship team and it hasn't gone well. And then again, it has been one of the top end championship teams, so maybe a team, middle of the road championship team will be more willing to take a punt on him. But it's worrying times for him. I really hope he does find a club and he can put all this behind him and start the next chapter of his career. But at the moment, it's hard to see where we go with him at the moment. But look, I'm wishing him all the best, obviously, and I hope he can turn things around. But he's just got to get his head right and got to pull himself together, get his act together, and then hopefully he can be that player we all know we can be. But look, Brian, lovely to you as always, mate. I really appreciate your time on today's Tottenham update as always. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Go check out Tottenham on Tour if you haven't already. The link will be in the title of the video, so go and give Brian a sub. But yeah, look, Brian, great to you as always, and we'll see you all very, very soon. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on,
Spurs.